Yeah, I taped it down. Good. All right. Everyone all set now? All righty. Good morning and welcome to the town of Cheektowaga, the village of Depew, as we are on Borden Road to discuss the 2023 Erie County Department of Public Works Highways Program. I'm pleased to be joined by our Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Public Works and the Highway Division, Karen Hoke, who you'll be hearing from very soon. We've started our highway program. It's, of course, always a very busy time of season. We wait expectantly for the weather to break so we can get out there and start doing work. And we need to do some work this year. There's no doubt about it. Last year was a tough year on the roads because of the issues associated with the temperature changes, the warm temperatures, the cooler temperatures. But we have a really big program scheduled for this year across Erie County's roads. In fact, in total, there is a $49.6 million investment that will be done this year among over 113 miles of county roads. Erie County owns approximately 1,200 centerline miles of roads. That's more roads than the states of Delaware, Rhode Island, and Hawaii each have individually, and that's a lot of roads that we have to maintain on an annual basis. And we try to do about 10% of the roads annually, and this year we're doing a little less than 10%. As we are doing 113 miles out of 1,200 miles that we have. And it runs the gamut. You see, we're on Borden Road because this is a big reconstruction project. This is an engineering project that will have new storm sewers, sanitary sewers, as well as a new road. It is a 3-year project, and this is the first year of the project. Actually, it started at the end of last year with some pre-construction work. But this is the year in which it's going to really be noticeable because you're going to see massive work that's being done on Borden, starting at Broadway down. And as I said, it's a 3-year project as we'll be doing more than 4 miles of roads here on Borden of a complete reconstruction. And when we talk about complete reconstruction, we're talking about not just taking the top layer of the road off and putting new blacktop down. We're talking about reconstructing everything all the way down to the sewers. Because what we're finding out is many of the projects that were done 50, 60 years ago, the storm sewers, the sanitary sewers, are reaching their lifespan. And that's why we have to go in and do these massive projects. So you will see other major reconstruction projects across the county, like Kenmore Avenue in the town of Tonawanda, Vermont Street in the town of Holland, Back Creek Road in Collins. It's been a bone of contention, and we're able to finally, through an agreement with one of the owners, get in there and reconstruct Back Creek Road. Trevitt Road in Concord, been closed for some time due to some issues, and we were able to now finally get in there and do Trevitt Road. Finishing up parts of East and West Road, which had massive reconstruction in the last few years, as well as other work that will be progressing on major reconstruction projects across the county. We have lots of mill and overlay projects scheduled. Lancaster, Sardinia, Amherst, Grand Island, West Seneca, Cheektowaga, Lackawanna, Eden, Boston. They will all see mill and overlay projects. And then there's the cold cycle and top course treatment projects, which are a kind of a newer one we started doing in the last few years and realized they're very beneficial for roads that don't need a complete mill and overlay but do need to actually have some work done on them. And you'll see those in Colvin, Holland, Wales, Lancaster, Sardinia, Collins, Concord, Hamburg, Boston. And then, of course, earlier this year in the 2023 budget, Erie County provided the city of Buffalo $3 million on the urban initiatives, which is to be used for infrastructure and roads in the city of Buffalo. So it'll be $3 million that will be going to the Buffalo Public Works Department to do roads in the city of Buffalo. We have a great team in the Department of Public Works and the Highway Division. Of course, they're the ones that are responsible for snow removal in the winter. And during the summer and the spring, as we are today, they're out there constructing roads. So it's my pleasure to introduce our Deputy Commissioner, Karen Hoke, to talk a little bit more about the programs this year. Karen?
Sure. Good morning. Thank you. As the county executive mentioned, we have another big year for road and infrastructure improvements. You're going to see our crews all around the county, our contractors, our maintenance crews, and they're going to be hard at work to improve our roads and improve our bridges. I ask that everybody is aware and minds for a safe work zone. The men and women of Department of Public Works want to get home safe at night, so just be mindful of signs, traffic patterns, and pay attention to flaggers. Our department also continues with our maintenance work and is working on addressing issues across the county, filling potholes, making sure that everything's taken care of. So we just ask for your cooperation and patience as you're moving through the work zones so we can accomplish everything this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. The Department of Public Works social media pages are excellent at getting information out. The Facebook page, the Twitter page. So if you're wondering what roads are under construction any one day, you can go to the Department of Public Works Facebook and Twitter page, and they have their In the Works posts that talk about exactly what's being done that day. They publish it in the morning so that you know before you head out. Always check that page to find out what's going on. It's Buffalo and Erie County. We have tough winters. We had a really tough winter this last one. While we didn't have many days of snow, of course, we had some tremendous days of snow, and that constant freeze-thaw had an impact on our roads, so we're getting back out there with a $50 million plan this year. And once again, as the Deputy Commissioner noted, we just appreciate everyone's patience. It's kind of funny because they often get questions from people, when are you doing this road? And then when we start doing it, the first question I get is, when are you finishing it? Because it's slowing down my traffic. Well, please be patient when you see road projects, because the men and women of our Department of Public Works want to get those done as quickly as possible, but the best way they can get them done quickly as possible is if they have the least amount of interference. So always follow flagger orders, and we'll get through this season as well as always. With that, I'll open up to any questions. The question was, how difficult is it for inflation on doing the road projects? It is having an impact. We try to do about 10% of the roads annually, and this is the first time I can remember about a $50 million annual budget to do about 10% of the roads. I don't know if you want to add on what you're seeing.
Yeah, I would say, we do the best we can with our estimating and account for the issues with inflation. However, we've also seen supply chain issues across the industry that also can impact delays, but we've managed to be able to come in at a good point with our estimates. That's a great question. So we rely on the district engineers and the members across the districts in Erie County who drive the roads every day and work on them. But we also rely on the GBNRTC road score. So we use the road score that is done every 2 years to evaluate what the condition of road is. And then we also factor in the traffic counts. So that is how we select our candidates that we put forward for the road program based on need and what's in the best interest to keep the traveling public safe.
Well, the bipartisan infrastructure law was a 5-year bill. So there was a lot of money in it, but it was to be spread out over 5 years. And the first tranche of money to be received by the states will be received this year, which means we won't really receive it until next year. So for most people who are expecting, like, wow, they did this multi-billion-dollar infrastructure bill, that is over 5 years. So what's nice about that is there's going to be continual money coming in. It's just not one big chunk of money. And then a lot of that is also projects that are not just the traditional road projects, like major bridge projects, because a lot of the money that we spend for bridge projects, often 75% of that comes from the federal government. There's more money available for that, which means in the upcoming years there'll be more money available for these very expensive bridge projects. Road projects are expensive. Bridge projects are very expensive. I mean, a small bridge that's no more than 30 feet can be up to $2 million to replace. And so it's incumbent upon the federal government to have passed that infrastructure law, and I'm glad they did, because it will guarantee that there will be money over here for the next 5 years. But we still really, this will be in some ways the first year, but next year when they start releasing the money from the state is when we'll really see it. Any other questions? Yeah.
I think that happened in West Seneca.
Uh,
So how much planning now goes into trying to make sure that everything's being done, so it's all being done properly? You don't have to tear the road up again to do the sewers.
there's a lot of planning that goes in. I'll give you an example of a road, not only this one, because this is a combo in some ways, but like Abbott Road in Lackawanna, from Fisher to Willett. Right now, there's a major Erie County water authority replacement of water lines, and there's also sewer lines that are going to be replaced there. We're not going to redo the portion of the road until they finish their section. We're not going to go in there and rebuild the road and then have them rip it up to put water and sewer lines in. That happens a lot. I think there's very good communication between the municipalities, the water authorities, the sewer authorities to ensure that we're not redoing a road that they're going to come in and rip up the next year. As I say, Lackawanna, the Abbott Road project, where right now the sewer authorities, the water authorities doing its work, we'll be doing ours later in the year. I mean, are there any other examples?
Yeah, I would say another one too is Mineral Springs in West Seneca. The water authority is going to be out there this year. That's a road that needs some attention. We need to reconstruct that road. However, we've been waiting for their improvements, and I believe they were waiting on some pipe to come in. So they're going to be doing that this year, and that's something that we can put forward to improve next year.
Uh, I have not had any conversations with the Athenex individuals. They've been trying to work very hard to ensure the future of the company. As with any pharmaceutical company, they sort of go based on the product. And I know they had a product that was hopeful, but it didn't really reach the level of success as they thought. And as a result, when you have when you're a pharmaceutical company focused on a particular area and the drug that you're coming up with, the treatment that you're coming up with doesn't work to the level that they thought, of course it's going to have a financial impact. It doesn't mean that pharmaceutical and drug companies aren't good companies that can be invested in. It's just this one didn't seem to work. The county really didn't have much of a role. The state put some money in there. There's no doubt about that. The state put tax credits in. They provided assistance in financing the Athenex. They do have their headquarters in Buffalo. I hope they can survive in some form. It's disappointing when you see that. It's like Medaille University, Medaille College announcing its closing. It's not totally surprising because of the way that the educational field is right now. We probably have too many institutions of higher education in Erie County based on the size of our population. I was hoping that Medaille would survive, but it may not be the only one. There could be others in the future, and you're seeing this across the country. And a lot of this is impacted post-COVID. What happened in COVID, the losses that accumulated in COVID, I think some of that was influential with regard to Athenex as well. I don't want to say companies come and go because there are companies that can survive, but it's very difficult, especially in an area like pharmaceuticals, where if you have a product and it doesn't get FDA approval, or does get an FDA approval but doesn't reach the level of success as they thought it was, that's going to have an impact on the bottom line, and it certainly did with Athenex. Not to my knowledge, no.
Since you went down that road, Erie Community College.
Yes.
For a year ago, getting a quote from you saying if they don't get their act together, basically they can go out of business. Have they straightened things out, in your opinion?
Well, there's always more work to do. SUNY Erie has gotten its act together because of the actions that were taken by the former president and the current interim president. They're in a much stronger financial position than they were a year and a half ago. I was actually very worried about the financial future of SUNY Erie. They needed to straighten some things out, and with the assistance of the county, they have. We offered assistance to do early retirement incentives for many of the faculty and administrators who are very high salaried. So we were able to provide them savings there. They actually had to do some cutbacks. There's more work that needs to be done. There's no doubt about it. We have to address some of these issues with having multiple programs over multiple campuses and treating it as one college. Too often it had been treated as three colleges, which it's not. It's one college. And I think there's been a tremendous amount of effort that's gone in to remind everybody it's one college. You shouldn't have three of the same programs over all 3 campuses, and then only have 8 students in a class, when you could combine them and have 16 students in a class, and then you don't have to spend as much money, which is part of what was going on at the college. The former president, President Balkin, did do some great work to do that. The current president, the interim president, Adiyam Sagai, is working on that as well. So I feel better about SUNY Erie's future than I did a year and a half ago, when their actions weren't being taken. And it just goes to show that if you really bite the bullet and do what's necessary and right, you can see a turnaround in a short period of time. SUNY Erie has issues. There's enrollment issues that still have to be addressed. We do not have as many college-age students as we did in the past. And when you don't have as many college-age students as you did in the past, but you have the same number of institutions, or they're growing and trying to grow, there's a smaller piece of the pie for everyone. And that's, I think, part of the problem with Medaille, is they were dealing with the enrollment issues just like others. And there's other colleges, I don't want to say names, but there's other colleges that I'm aware of in our community that are dealing with difficult times, especially the smaller liberal arts colleges. You're seeing colleges close across the country. Casanova College in upstate New York, a very well-known liberal arts college, is closing. They just can't meet the demand and the cost of education with the number of students. So I hope that Medaille's the last. I hope it's the last. I hope that the students are able to find other institutions to complete their studies, and the faculty and staff are able to find positions elsewhere. But it would not surprise me to see additional closures in the next few years across the country, but hopefully not here. If it did happen, it wouldn't shock me. But I believe SUNY Erie is in a much better position today than they were a year and a half ago. It is a very more work being done. The Medaille location is a very important location at the end of Agassiz Circle, and actually right behind Canisius College. I know I have not talked to the representatives from Canisius. They might be interested in the property. I know they're always looking to grow, and that's right next to their campus. So I would not be surprised if there's conversations between Canisius and Medaille. I can't say that there are for certain, because I'm not certain. I'm just speculating, and I generally don't like to speculate, but that would make the most sense. But yeah, it's a very important parcel of land. And as an institution of higher education, it was centrally located in the city, right near the subway that ends right on the corner, right by the Skajakwita there. So I hope that it will be utilized very soon, and once again, that the students are able to transition to finish their studies, and that the faculty and staff will be able to move into other positions. But I know it's not easy, because, as I said, there are difficulties in higher education today.
One last thing about road construction. In years past, probably decades past, there was this idea of trying to have town public works departments work together. The idea was that this could perhaps save some money and utilize their equipment. Is that utilized at all, with the county kind of taking up a leadership?
Yeah. The question was, do we kind of work together with towns on projects? And the answer is yes. I'll give you a good example of it. Often when we're doing mill and overlay projects, we'll work with the towns to get their drivers and their trucks to help take the debris away. But there's a lot of that working together. And if you want to talk about more.
Yeah, there's a lot of collaboration that goes with our partners in the town. A lot of it is with the trucking. We're helping each other out for some of the prep work that's needed before a road is resurfaced. But some of it is restricted by us receiving separate streams of funding, our state funding, things like that. So they have their own road programs, their own way of selecting what roads that they're improving, and then we have ours. But whenever there's an opportunity to collaborate, we do.
Yeah, one of the things that was a goal of my administration is turning back roads that should be town roads. And we've done quite a number of those. And a good example, one of the roads on here is Vermont Street in Holland. And the goal is to turn back Vermont Street to the town of Holland so that they can control it in the future. So we're doing the work to make it a nice road now, and then eventually we turn it over, and then the town of Holland's responsible for a road that's wholly within the town. Makes sense. We've done that in a lot of roads across Erie County, in all kinds of communities. Panora is a good one that's not too far away from here in Lancaster that we redid, and then we turned it over to the town of Lancaster. Rogers Road, portion of Rogers Road in Hamburg is another one that we redid and turned it over to the town of Hamburg, because we got 1,200 centerline miles of roads. We really shouldn't have these many miles as a county. Years ago, when they went from the Board of Supervisors to the county legislature, the supervisors dumped hundreds of miles of roads on the county so they would no longer be responsible for it. I don't mind having control of a road that crosses multiple towns. They're arterial roads, but there's sometimes we have a mile and a half road that's solely located within a town that's really not even next to an arterial. And those were dumped on the county a long time ago. And my goal is over time to try to eliminate as many of those roads as possible, because they should go to the town, which is really the one that should be responsible for it, because it's wholly within the town and it really only serves a purpose for the town. It doesn't serve a purpose for getting people across our county. Okay, thanks everyone. And I guess if you wanted to get shots at construction, they are doing work down there.